Do you agree that America is in decline? Have you ever heard people say both political parties are equally responsible? It's easy to go along and just agree with that statement, but the fact is, it's just not true. And that's what this video is really about. We're here to have historical facts prove it to you. Hi, I'm Harlan Goerger, business consultant, and I've helped individuals and companies make the most of their American dreams. Unfortunately, in my opinion, our wonderful country is heading in the wrong direction. What I want to find out is, how did this happen? Who's responsible, and how can we turn it around? I'd like to introduce you to Chris Deitch. He has conducted some tremendous research on the history of political power in America. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Harlan. Thanks for having me.
So how did you come up with this? What caused you to do this research?
Well, just like you, Harlan, I have worked in the trenches with small and medium-sized business people for over 25 years. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that business people in America are extremely frustrated with government. Based on that frustration, I decided to do a little research on political power in America. I can promise you that every bit of statistical information you are about to see are historical facts that cannot be disputed.
Well, if you're like us and you'd like to educate yourself with the truth, stick around for a few minutes. Chris, what I think scares the established politicians and elite media is an educated and informed public that has both sides of the story. In my business, understanding is the cornerstone of new and different change.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In my opinion, the better we understand the past and how we arrived at where we are, the better we can use that knowledge to completely shift the direction of America from a dependency society to an opportunity-based society.
So let's get started on your research.
Harlan, what I found was astounding to me. For almost 80 years, one political party has had major control of our government and our political system. Through the past 40 sessions of Congress, that one party has had the power to greatly expand the size and scope of the federal government, limiting our right as Americans to pursue the American dream.
Okay, Chris, which party are we talking about?
Well, since 1933, the Democrat Party has dominated the political landscape. We'll show you the specific numbers in a few minutes, but the evidence is irrefutable, and the result has brought us to a crossroads as big as this country has ever faced.
Chris, how specifically have the Democrats dominated?
Well, let's look at one example. During President Obama's first year in office, there were huge Democrat majorities in both the House and the Senate. Obamacare has jammed down America's throat in spite of the overwhelming opposition of the American people. Harlan, there have been several periods of Democrat dominance in the past 80 years. The first was Franklin Delano Roosevelt from 1935 to 1942. 8 continuous years of Democrat rule where the Republican opposition was virtually powerless. The result? Massive expansion of the size and scope of government. Then from 1961 to 1968, the combined presidency of John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson for another 8 continuous years. Once again, we had massive expansion of government. The Great Society added Medicare and Medicaid to the growing list of dependency programs. Now, these programs are all well-intentioned, but without market forces playing a role, these federal government monopolies result in bloated programs, rife with fraud and abuse, and the fact is they are bankrupting America.
Great points, Chris. I hesitate to ask. Were there any more?
I'm afraid so. President Carter and his fellow Democrats in Congress did their part to expand government. They created the Department of Energy and Department of Education, whose collective size and annual budgets have seen enormous growth since their creation. You know, you have to ask yourself, are we the people getting a solid return on our investment for the untold hundreds of billions of dollars spent to support these two agencies? And toward the end of the Carter administration, you had something called the Misery Index, which adds the unemployment rate plus the inflation rate. Well, that hit an all-time high of 22%.
Well, I can understand the Misery Index because, to add to that, I also paid 22% interest on business loans at that time.
Today, we have President Obama, who in his first 2 years in office added Obamacare and used the Democrat-controlled House and Senate to massively raise the debt load, which increased the size of the federal government to an all-time high. Unemployment in America has remained between 9 and 10%, and yet President Obama and his friends in Congress continue to insist through their actions that bigger and bigger government and more spending is the answer to solving our problems.
Chris, you've nailed it. America was founded on the Constitution, basic principles of freedom, the land of opportunity, and limited government as stated in the Constitution.
Thanks, Harlan, and as far as I'm concerned, there is no debate. In the last 80 years, we have moved from an independent, opportunity-based society to a government-imposed dependency society today.
What do we the people want America to look like going forward, and what can we learn from this?
Great questions, Harlan. No matter what your current political beliefs are, especially if you consider yourself to be a classic independent, someone who has historically votes for the person and not the party, all we're asking you to do is take a very objective look at history and apply that knowledge to making an informed decision about the future direction of our country. I believe the quickest and most efficient way to shift America back to an opportunity-based society is to elect conservative, constitutionally based Republicans working within our current two-party system.
I agree, Chris. We the people have the power with our vote to shape America going forward. Could you please explain a little bit more how you went back in history, conducted your research, and tell us about Congress and the Senate?
What I did is I went to the official websites of the U.S. House and the Senate, found the number of seats held by each political party in each session of Congress. Now typically one party or the other has the majority. For example, I added up all the majority seats from both parties in the House of Representatives going back to 1933. It totaled 3,141 majority seats over those 40 sessions of Congress. Now here's the amazing statistic. 92% of all the majority seats in the House since 1933 have been held by Democrats. In my opinion, that's total dominance by one party. The Republican Party held a grand total of only 238 majority seats, or just 8% over the same time frame. And I know it sounds hard to believe, but it's easy to verify. If you'll click on the link right below the donkey on our video, it'll take you directly to the official website of the U.S. House of Representatives. Feel free to add up the numbers yourself.
You did this with the Senate as well, correct?
I did the same thing in the U.S. Senate and found almost exactly the same result. The Democrats have held 90% of all the majority seats over the last 80 years. So if you agree the government has moved America to a dependency society, is there any doubt in terms of which political party is primarily responsible?
When someone says to you, both parties are equally blame, how do you respond?
I can now look them right in the eye and with total confidence tell them, you know, that's actually not true and I can prove it. Now, do I think Republicans are perfect? Absolutely not. But that is why we as average Americans need to be involved.
Well, fantastic. Okay, Chris, I have to ask, was there ever a time in America when, say, the Republicans were really in control of the federal government?
Actually, Harlan, yes, there was. The Republicans did have control from 1857 to 1932, a time frame of 76 years, which was 38 sessions of Congress. So I felt it was a pretty fair comparison to recent American history. Here are the numbers. During those 76 years, 68% of the time America elected Republican presidents. 68%, or more than two-thirds of all the majority seats in the House of Representatives were held by Republicans. And 87% of all the majority seats in the Senate were held by Republicans.
So what makes this so important?
It's important because this was a time in American history where the founding principles of the American experiment were in full bloom. Massive expansion of free enterprise. Massive growth of capital and equity in the hands of individuals and risk takers. The United States was truly emerging as a world power. You had explosive economic growth in every corner of America. Now, is that pure coincidence? In my opinion, I just don't think it was.
As a small business person helping the average working people and business leaders all over the country, I couldn't agree more with you that we as Americans have reached maybe the most important crossroads in our history. What if we, as we the people, put a conservative Republicans back in power for the next 8 to 10 years? The question is, are you willing to give conservative, constitutionally based Republicans one last chance? If you want to reestablish the opportunity society in America, the time is now to take action. So let's just visualize what could possibly happen in America. How about massive reduction in the size and the scope of the federal government? A reduced and greatly simplified tax code for everyone. Massive expansion of free enterprise, entrepreneurial spirit, and open competition, which is what grew this country in the first place. Imagine small business flourishing on every street corner, energy independence, personal opportunities abounding, economic stability, giving American business the advantage of actually planning short and long term. For almost 300 years, people have come to America, leaving everything behind to start over with limited restrictions from government. From that came the greatest nation the world has ever known, the United States of America. Do we really want a democratic-run government telling us what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and where to do it? By the way, how's that been working for you lately?
Well, Harlan, terrific points. And, it really comes down to this. Which political party is best for America going forward? The Democrat Party, whose core belief is that government is the answer to all our problems, or the Republican Party, who will empower we as Americans to solve our problems? All we're saying is, let's understand and learn from history and use that knowledge to shape America's future. Critics of this video will say that we are being way too simplistic. Well, I respectfully disagree. It's really not that complicated. If this little video has made any impact at all with you, Here's how you can help. Right now, probably the most important thing you can do is share this video with everybody you know, your family, friends, business associates, anyone and everyone. Let them decide if they want to get involved, educate each other, and help to restore American opportunity. For more information, we've created a website. It's called raopp.com, and take action.
Thanks, Chris. And as Ronald Reagan said in his second inaugural address in 1985,
if not us, who? And if not now, when?
Harlan, I believe that quote from President Reagan is more critical today than ever before.
with this tremendous information like this, we can and will get America back on track. Chris, I can't thank you enough for putting this historical research together.
You know, it's a team effort, Harlan, and I want to thank you for all your help and support. To find out more, we invite you to check us out at raopp.com. We look forward to seeing you there.